Good morning, everybody, and welcome on this journey with me once again. Today, I have decided to talk about what actions we have to take when lost and confused and afraid, and what permeates because of those actions. What asks us to change the way we behave when fear is making our skin crawl, when we're so enlisted in anxiety and encompassed in stresses that we see no way out. And in the midst of chaos, it is said that our greatest gifts come through. And it's because of a journey. We're all taking a journey from suffering to peace, from our sadness to happiness, from our weaknesses to strengths, and finding strengths in our weaknesses. All these changes that are so becoming of us. We listen to people who encourage us and empower us and make us more than ourselves, giving this a time and space to breathe. So when we realize what hearts are bigger than ours, who inspires us, who our mentors are here to help us, we call upon new energies. From the very fact that we can see them and we realize and acknowledge on a felt connection. And this doesn't just happen overnight, but through a series of connections and events. You have soulmates, you have soul connections, soul families, and they come throughout your life again and again, wondering how have you been, seeing you for who you are on different levels. And the inspiring part about this is they're on your level, that they're not your mentor, but they're the facet that you can look eye to eye with and know that on some level you have a part of them as they have a part of you. And listening to myself here, I'm realizing how much time is needed to actually take this journey, to realize what self is required to rectify what we've known before, to remember our self-becoming. Because that's what we're here to do, is to remove those blockages so that we don't have the fear and the doubts and anxiety. Anxiety is just that unknown feeling, not knowing how to describe it. And that's why we keep calling different feelings energy. It's why we come to these spaces and say, this is a place of self-discovery. I'm lost, but I am welcomed and I am learning something new. I love this quote by Rumi that says every emotion is a house guest, and so you just welcome them in, show them around, and let them pass through. And our emotions, once we realize they're in a constant state of change, that they are just house guests moving from one place to another, like we all are. And it moves through us. And the blessing in all this is it doesn't go unfounded. We are all grounded with each other, not against each other. So when we rectify in our self-becoming, it acts as a ignition start. It's that spark of flame, the fire of God's, that awakens us and activates what we've always known of ourselves. Listening deep down to the actualization of everything around us. That knowing that life is sprouting around us at this constant rate, just as we are inside. The other day, I wrote a poem. I love the tree there. So I was going to say that some people can live in the shade, others need full light. Meaning, some trees block out other trees from fully growing to the full potential, or kill off the leaves and branches that are younger than them or are on the less totem pole of their treehood. And other trees need the full light. They need full creativity. They need their full way to be expressed. They need to be their own boss and mentor and to head down a path that no other can contend with, because they know who they are and they don't need to contend with anything. They live from a place of heart, and this compassionate will asks of us to be creative on creation's terms, to grow with all the natural instincts that we've been blessed with in art, in music, in discovery. And then we come to spaces, new ideas that come and pass through us for a time being, so we can pass on to others. And that's why it's important to align and realign with ourselves, is so we can have these thoughts that come through our suffering or awakenings and simply allow them to manifest and pour through us as we discover what new capabilities we have, what new awakenings we have rising from within. And when we give that to others and help their capabilities grow as well, we realize that every person is in full light in their own right, that we're all taking our own steps and living so greatly on our own terms. You know, each person has their own stepping stones to take. And how we define ourselves, and through the meaning and layered depths that we actually all manage to merge and call a self, through the illusion of wanting and needing and being. And what I mean by all this is that our desire to be something is just a stepping stone we need to take on a daily basis. A fact of life that everything is where it is at because it knows itself on a level that resonates with another self. So if you resonate with the grass, the clouds, the trees, you know, that's all extensions of you, or they are extensions of you. Or you are extensions of it. And the fact we have memory to remember how we've come to be and what history lessons we've learned from ourselves, what knowledge and becoming that guarantees ourselves to be in a state of ecstatic bliss. This is simply because we've aligned to the nature that has always been and proceeds to be. It'd be so completely different if we were on Mars and we had air somehow, and our lives were made to be so welcomed in ways that resonate with that planet. How will you resonate with dust? And our hearts are fickle, and they can be mutated because they're so vulnerable. And this allows us space for room and to grow, to make us new people from the very depths of others, and not from their control or how they want us to be, but by their testimonies and what they stand for. The importance is living so deeply in that moment that they decide to change for themselves, that their attitude and behavior can shift in a second, and that showcase of dignity for oneself, that they do not allow others to influence how they behave through chaos and confusion. It is the very wonder why we want to expand ourselves, why coming into new people is such a beautiful thing. So where does happiness come from? It comes from the state of mind and bliss that we can actually achieve something without being lost in the confusion of others. That our mind doesn't wander to one's self-control or complete obligatory thoughts. So, for example, instead of saying, I wish I wasn't near you, I wish I was far away from you as possible, to whoever this person is, instead wish that I wish I was free. I wish I had the freedom to express my needs and my desires and to push beyond the boundaries that I know I am capable. To live from the heart that showcases every moment's decision. And it makes us so endearing to this quality that it brings us into brighter resonations, that we actually merge with the self that ignites us on a daily basis. And although that this isn't quite the means every day, and our means and aim should be communication with the duality of all that remains around us, we should live from this hearty heart that wakes us every day, that remembers that we are a part of our own journeys, living from one place to the next and coming back into the soul that sets us on fire, and to a place we can call home, where home acts as a a safety measure, where you're not scared by a snake slithering across the ground. You know, I see you, snaky snake. It starts when we are in a distance between self and self-made, meaning when universal energies come through us and where we have choice and decisions and freedom to make choices and realign to the self that we choose. What energies do we let in? What energies do we provide for others? What do we give? What do we take for ourselves and give to ourselves? This balance, it brings us into the state of harmony. In these modes of becoming, we relentlessly let on to new discoveries of self. It's because in these times of such chaos and confusion, it starts to change the way we initiate with things, the way we act and react with things. So knowing and learning how to respond now, it is a whole new challenge, but we live by challenges. And it's so good to depart from the norm of a daily busy life in the repetitive workflow that we are continuously in, and to start actually bringing new areas of self within a controlled environment. And that's where I speak of home, is to start to actually enlist your qualities, your divine qualities, and bring them to the very forefront of your mind so you can start initiating and acting on these places you can go to within yourself. And we don't always have to go out and reach out for others, living from their point of view. We can start to realize what is given by others as well as what's taken. And that is one of the most important questions in our lives, is what do we give and take out of this life? Because that's what defines relationships. This is how we start to hold one another in our space, by knowing their needs, their wants, their desires, and providing that with acceptance, and providing that with boundaries, and giving what that space needs between you and another in a relationship. Whereas others decide to take whatever they want, you have to decide, boundaries once again. But also knowing that they are home where they feel less threatened, because they hold space for their fear. And that is their challenge they are working through. that is a very competitive challenge that they put up with themselves. But in the grander scheme of things, it's what they're working through, and it's how they're going to manifest new creations by looking back on their past and realizing that their days are lost by numbers. And when they start to add up all those days, it starts to weigh on them, and time becomes suffering for them. And this suffering leads to new realizations that they can be relieved without the thought of time. And we only come to the without concept of time when we start to see spirit at its fullest, in the light of we are one with creation, we are one with ourselves, and we are creator and created. And it brings love and joy to know that we are a part of something and we're not lonely because of it, and that we're being listened to and we're listening to others, and the heart just keeps on expanding because we are thrown into needs and wants, and light comes out of it. And these times exemplify not only our will to survive in different outlooks and ways, but to discriminate against what ways that we see as of now. This is all due to the fact that we've stopped and looked at ourselves and saw a very human side welling up within us all these years as we were keeping busy and learning anew. So these times, however dire, they present a new outlook and challenge for us to get a grasp on life, how to move in new ways. This is the very calling that we know today as what it means to be human, what it means to sink our teeth into new fruits and labors, and realize without these, there can be no such thing as the human. We were meant to provide we're asked to make anew of ourselves on a daily basis, to breathe as if we've never breathed before in our life. This is because each moment is an opportunity to give and harmonize and realize what is a bigger part of us, what is going to make us stretch out, reach out to another, and live in a space that can be safe, that can potentially be a space that we change and we create something new from. We're not going to be put in a space that allows us to fear one another, unless you're going through lessons. But our spaces only change out of the necessity that we are in need of something new in our life, and the great realization that we are in dire times where we are put into that space of great chaos and confusion. It opens us up to new ways of living, because we know we cannot stay in this way of suffering. And now the journey has to be taken from suffering to peace, from happiness to ecstatic bliss. My name's Kane McIntyre. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, just go keep living life like no other. Go with your full, highest expression of self. No one can tell you what to do or say or be. So you go be and do and say. Have a wonderful day. Peace, love, and joy to the world. What else do you need?